Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us, and welcome to CybHER-Security. Network safety is women's work. As everyone knows, we are in an extremely challenging time amid a pandemic. Not only have lives been lost, but people are being mentally and emotionally taxed. Some have even lost their jobs. Yet during all of this, the lockdowns, the isolation, there is something of value, the time for deep introspection and self-reflection. And on the career front, some may be using this time to think about their long-term goals or how to switch or level up their careers into something that can withstand a crisis like a pandemic. The cybersecurity field is one career that can withstand even the most challenging times. As we all know, data is the most prized commodity. And of course, with that, there are many who will attempt to steal or hack into systems to attain that data. That's why cybersecurity is such a future-proof career option. And there is a woeful lack of diversity in the field. The space needs people of color. It needs Black women as gatekeepers of data, keeping that data safe and ensuring that cybersecurity teams are diverse and inclusive. It's a well-paying field with a long-term job outlook, and we have the right to claim our space in it. And with that, I want to welcome our panelists today, two incredible Black women who are making major moves in the cybersecurity field. Dr. Bonita is the TRM Director of Security Awareness, Training, Education, Communication, Technology Risk Management at DTCC in Washington, D.C. And Alicia Rosenbaum is the VP and Associate General Counsel for Cybersecurity at SalesForce. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So I think one of the things, we'll just get right into it. I guess one of the first questions I'd like to pose to both of you, and Bonita, we'll kick off with you. How did you end up in cybersecurity and what attracted you to it?
Actually, it's kind of funny how I got into cybersecurity, and I've actually, in my opinion, been in cybersecurity before cybersecurity even became the buzzword. I majored in computer science and got a master's degree in technology management. And of course, I have a doctorate degree in business administration. Now, when I started off in school, I asked my guidance counselor and career development counselor as well, what is a place or what can I study where I'm gonna always have a job and always make money? And so she told me two things. One, become an engineer or get into computer science. And since I had a knack and it was natural for me, I ended up leaning towards computer science because I wanted to not go back to my parents' house ever after graduation. And I wanted to continue to have employment. And then also the financial potential was of interest to me. So I wanted to always be able to make sufficient amount of money to live on my own and do what I want to do. So that's how I got into cybersecurity. And at the time, it was just called computer science. And then it changed to information technology, and then information security, and now we're transitioned to cybersecurity. So that's how I got in. That's why I say that I've been in all my life.
Great, kind of a natural transition.
Correct.
Alicia, same question for you. What attracted you to cybersecurity, and why?
Sure. I would say I've had the pleasure of working in technology for many years. And when I first got in, I started out as an attorney protecting intellectual property assets, doing licensing and the sale and acquisition of intellectual property and the attendant litigation to protect it. So protecting intellectual property and was able to then sort of ride the wave in the industry as things moved to the cloud And with the explosion of applications and the use of data in the cloud, there was a real need to then rethink how are we protecting those assets in the cloud. And that is, very much the definition of cybersecurity. So very much like Bonita, I was sort of already there before it was defined in that fashion, and looked up and sort of attached the whole notion of cybersecurity, what I was already doing retrospectively, if you will. I've always been steeped in how do we protect our data from a privacy perspective. And it really just led to the more technical aspects of cybersecurity. So I've been very lucky and was open to how letting my career morph both with the industry and with opportunities, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really interesting transition too, from being an attorney of IP and then over into cybersecurity. And it kind of makes sense because data is intellectual property. So it seems like a really good, transition. With that, Alicia, can you just provide an overall view or definition of what entails cybersecurity, who's using it, who needs it, for people who may not be familiar with the field?
Absolutely. So I think each of us have been talking about the explosion of data in the cloud. We're all using these apps to do online banking, entertainment, accessing our personal information, employer data, and all that sits in the cloud. In other words, servers that aren't sitting in someone's closet, they're in the cloud. If you have an iPhone or an Android machine, you're using data in the cloud. All that information needs to be protected. So cybersecurity is the whole notion of making sure there are policies, procedures, and technical controls to monitor the access, make sure everyone who's accessing it is authorized. And in other words, make sure bad guys don't get in and take things out, if you will.
Gotcha. And Bonita, the same thing for you. How would you describe cybersecurity to someone who had really no idea what the field was about?
Yeah, so actually similar to what Alicia said, one of the things that I was thinking of, I was like, let me figure out how to fill a gap in what she's explaining. And for me, cybersecurity and the way I explain it is that everyone does it. Even our children does it, all the way up to, adults and students and, people that's in the workforce. We are doing it naturally by providing governance, coming up with strategies, coming up with ways to protect our digital lives, things that's, on our phones, on our computers, things that, we're using on a regular basis. We're trying to figure out how to protect it. So that is cybersecurity. It's protecting the network, protecting your computers, protecting the data, anything that is potentially that could be destroyed, like even paper. You're protecting paper and just electronic assets. So cybersecurity to me is protecting, safeguarding, and governing anything that is important to you, and anything that's important to you as a person, anything that's important to a corporation, a university, college, even the healthcare. So it's across all industries, right. And everyone needs it and everyone touch it. So it's that's what it is for me.
That's a great point, because we think about the data and like these hackers, but really it's also cybersecurity field also incorporates people protecting the actual network, or you're sort of protecting people from entering into the network or corporate network or organization's network to begin with. So that's a great point. Alicia, can you work for SalesForce? It's a huge global company. Can you give some insight into the prospective job market for cybersecurity professionals, as far as what you see from SalesForce's point of view?
Absolutely. So we recently conducted a survey in conjunction with the World Economic Forum in this space to quantify the skills gap and the tremendous need in this space. And you spoke at the outset of our interview here, Samara, about how there's just a tremendous need for people who are excited and want to go into this space. It's every company, especially in the time of COVID, is digitizing. To the extent brick and mortar, anything is challenged, we're faced with how do we then transact business, or how do we have any sort of interaction in a digital space? And so the field's just exploding. We were in a situation before the pandemic where there was a huge gap in terms of, many companies have positions that they just can't fill. And so it's a smart bet if you're interested to check this out. Certainly at SalesForce, we are hiring every day in this space.
Gotcha. That's some great information. And Bonita, also, what are your opinions about the job market for cybersecurity professionals? I'd imagine they're pretty good.
Oh yeah. So I tell people, especially young people that ask me about my career, and I said, do you want to make money? The answer is yes. Do you want to help people? They say, yeah. So then the next thing I say is, okay, so I am going to be very transparent and let you know that I have a little biasness about this career path. If you want to always work and make good money, get into cybersecurity, because you are going to be helping people in a different way. Although you're behind the scenes and etc., but you are going to be helping people in your community, organizations, and etc. And so with that, I would say that if people are open to getting into cybersecurity, they will not regret it. And at DTCC, for example, we have a lot of initiatives to get diverse resources into our firm. We have a EDGE program, which is for students and new graduates, and they're able to get into the firm. We also have over 200 plus positions that are available that's in IT and also cyber and risk. And so with that, I know just from some studies that I've read and some references that I've seen, some quotes as well as white papers that have mentioned that there is a huge need for cybersecurity professionals because the demand is high. Every firm, small, medium, and large, needs a cybersecurity professional. And what I've seen from, I think, the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, they do a lot of studies, and they also make reference to folks that's in IT and cybersecurity. And the numbers, salary-wise, you're looking at an average of about maybe 90 to 95 and up, $1,000 a year. So there's a lot of opportunity, there's growth, and then there's a need, there's a demand. I think there was a study that I saw where I think there was a white paper, and I can't recall who it was at this point in time, but they mentioned that, diversity or minorities in the US is a small percentage of us that's in cybersecurity in comparison to other, other markets, other type of career opportunities within the job market. So cybersecurity, there is a huge opportunity for anyone to get in, and then to, to help people and help organizations. So there is a need. Minorities are getting into it, but slowly in comparison to other races.
And especially there's a lack of Black women. We see from a lot of studies. And Alicia, maybe you can talk about that. Why is it important for, people say, oh, it's just cybersecurity. Why is it important for it to be diverse? And why is it important for Black women to be in this field?
I appreciate that question. I think it's really important to have a diversity of thought when you come to the table to try and do the type of problem solving that's required with cybersecurity. So what I liken it to is we're tasked with figuring out, being responsible for pattern recognition and finding those anomalies which would trigger the thought that something's going on. In other words, if I'm looking at your usage pattern. And I know you live in the DC area and you generally go online between 6 and 8 p.m. And if I see something anomalous, like someone with you using your user ID, signing in at 3 a.m. from Hong Kong, it triggers it. And then, the notion that, hey, something's out of place. We maybe have a cybersecurity incident. And if we've got people who are enthusiastic, would like to have an attention to detail, and then unravel what's going on, because then we've got to go and search. Where's that coming from? What's really going on? And what we find is that if we have a diversity of thought around the table, we get to that answer much more quickly.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know. And if you can have different perspectives, you're going to just problem solve that much better.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great answer. I went to FedEx today and I was trying to get into my email and it didn't recognize the device and I didn't have my phone, would not let me in. So those patterns and those trends, that's such a great point. Bonita, what about you? Why do you think it's important, especially for Black women, to explore this field as a career option?
Well, there's a need. And also, I believe women have certain natural abilities that they can leverage and share and help organizations, with some of the critical thinking, being a people person, be a person that can relate to individuals and know how to talk to people at different levels. Also, we have this internal something about us and that we can decipher information, we can read people well, and also we have a laser eye into, situations similar to what Alicia was saying, is that, if something anomaly is happening and is unnatural, it's not the norm for that individual, then that is a trigger that something is monitoring, is looking, and it's learning, which is like the artificial intelligence, is learning on an ongoing basis on your behaviors and what's happening. That information is data. And we, women, look for information at all times. We want to know what's going on at all times. And so we also troubleshoot and try to figure it out on our own. But then when you have multiple brains coming together, we can figure out what that anomaly is and fix it and resolve it. So women bring some natural capabilities, and then we're groomed with the knowledge of, let's say in this case, cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. We get the education, we get the know-how, and then we apply that with our natural abilities.
Samara, could I follow up on what Bonita said? Because I loved what she was alluding to, if I have just a moment, about some natural abilities and affinities. And one of the things I think you were trying to say is, like, you have to have a lot of empathy sometimes in this space. We often interact with our clients and our customers at a very difficult time. If there's a major incident, they need some hand-holding. They need someone who's calm and collected under pressure, and can explain to them, walk them through some very tricky times, if you will. And I completely agree with what you said, that you can, it requires a lot of empathy and IQ and EQ, if you will.
Yes, correct. Emotional intelligence, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, very important. Those soft skills are just as important as the tech skills. Alicia, just going back to you, in SalesForce, you lead the cybersecurity group there as the Associate General Counsel. When they're hiring cybersecurity professionals, what are you and what is SalesForce looking for?
Sure. First of all, enthusiasm, attention to detail. I think the enthusiasm is the biggest part, because it's a journey, and that's somewhat related to people getting into the field from all different walks of life and at very different stages. You have someone who maybe would have a 4-year degree and then gets a certification on top of that. They can, come in for governance, risk, and compliance. Maybe you also have folks who are trained by the military, or maybe local or federal government, or folks, we also have an online training program through our Trailhead program. And you can get a very, get your foot in the door there, starting to skill up through SalesForce's Trailhead program, and then launch a career. So we're really just looking for that interest and enthusiasm, attention to detail, and dedication to your learning journey to really get into the field.
Gotcha. And that's even if somebody may not have that much experience, a lot of these other qualifications could get their foot in the door.
Absolutely.
Great, great. Bonita, what about you? When you've been involved in the hiring process or looking for prospects, what do you look for in a good cybersecurity professional?
I look for, and I know I can speak for several of the hiring managers at DTCC, we look for people that will get up to speed quickly. They're resourceful. They have excellent communication skills, because in cybersecurity, we talk a lot. We have to explain things to individuals that may be complex. We may have to talk to our peers where we're talking technical technical jargon, and we have to explain a complex situation. We also need to be able to work with our customers and clients that may be outside of our firms. So we're looking for someone that has really good communication skills, know how to work on a team. We do look for, especially in technology risk management, we do look for some technical know-how, some certifications, degrees. Degrees are not required all the time, because we have some individuals that's never gone to college, and they're very, very senior because they have the ability to become and have adopted to become a life learner. So if you're a life learner, that means you're researching, you're always keeping your skills up to speed based upon what's happening in industry. So communication skills, having good people skills, the technical know-how is great. So that could come through by hands-on experience, classroom experience, as well as, like Alicia said, we can do the military. And also, we do take students because they are able to bring in the research, some examples, case studies, and apply it within our organization. So if we have a person that shows those type of, or able to communicate that in our resume, and definitely communicate that in their interviews, then they have a good chance being able to come to be part of DTCC. Similar to SalesForce, we do have multiple gateways to get into DTCC. One I mentioned before, which is the EDGE program, where we take new students and new graduates. We also have internships, paid internships at DTCC. And then also we have part-time and other ways to get in besides just full-time. We do have, I guess, contingent workers or contractors that we also partner with. So we have third-party vendors that we bring on board to help us fill a gap or to help us with a project.
That's cool, and that's a really good point, because I think covering technology for like 15 years as a tech journalist and being in the industry 15 years before, one of the great things about cybersecurity is there are a lot of great college 4-year degree programs, but you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree to get your foot in the door. There are a ton of certifications out there. And Alicia, you had mentioned SalesForce's Trailhead program. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, how long does it take? How much experience do you need? Does it cost anything? If someone wanted to get into that.
Sure. I'll put it into sort of two buckets. There's, very much according to what Bonita said, there's the technical bucket, and then there's the non-technical bucket, if you will, and all are welcome. I feel like the technical folks will come with maybe a computer science degree or technical skills that they gained in the military or working for the government, say for the National Security Agency or something like that. They're bringing that. But for folks who are not technical and new to the field, you can go to the Trailhead and begin skilling up. In terms of how long it takes, it depends on, sort of the how long you have and how fast you can ingest the stuff. But certainly in the course of a year, you can begin to get grounded in this space and begin to move on to the next phase where you can then start reaching out for those opportunities to begin practicing what you've learned, if you will.
Well, great. That sounds like a great opportunity. Even just to, if you want to either, pivot your career or you want to get into cybersecurity. Bonita, what about you? How long did it take you to become a cybersecurity professional? How much did it cost? Or you can give us an idea of how much money you had to shell out. What was your experience?
Well, for me, I was fortunate enough to be a student, I guess a student athlete. So my education was paid for with my athletic abilities. So my undergraduate was paid for that way. So I did get a scholarship to attend my university. And then from there, for my master's degree, my employer that I was with at that time paid for my master's degree. So for me, it's my journey started with having a scholarship and then to pay for my education. And then I continued on growing my, my skills, my abilities, my know-how, and my academic strides, and working with firms that also supported my personal and professional desires to grow within the firm as well as to further my education. So I went with firms that allowed me to do that. So I was very fortunate in that way. For my doctorate degree, we won't talk about the student loan there, which is why I'm still working. But it was a personal choice to pursue my doctorate degree. It was not a requirement for any of my roles. So it was just something that I wanted to do. So not factoring in dollars, let's not put in my doctorate degree. For me, it was $0 to get into cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. However, I've invested in myself a number of times with certifications and also my doctorate degree. So a person can put a dollar figure on their path, but for me, I wanted to go the most economical way to get the biggest bang for the buck. So my return on investment in me was so worth it.
So with that, our panelists have graciously shared their expertise, and we have some material for the audience to take away. They've recommended some great programs, certification programs, some great resources out there if you're interested in getting into the cybersecurity field, some people and organizations to follow, and just a tremendous amount of information out there that we have in 3 lists that we will send a link. We will share the link with you in this session, and you can take a look at them and see which options are best for you. And I just want to thank Dr. Bonita Bess and Alicia Rosenbaum from SalesForce. Thank you so much for your expertise and for sharing your journey with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.